Hello and welcome to Renee Ruth Music. I'm your host, Fred Jackson, and I am with Renee Ruth.
Nice to be back, Fred.
Yeah,
we took a hot minute off.
Yeah. We've been so busy.
We're busy.
We're rolling real estate. We're rolling with the music. You know, your
day jobs,
day
night
job,
jobs,
your
kids,
personal
dogs,
life,
lives.
all that
it just
stuff.
went whoosh.
Yeah.
And we started writing again.
Yes. This is exciting. This is so exciting.
This makes Fred so happy.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm really happy rehearsing, but I'm also happy. Well, back up. I was really wanting to write a song at the beginning of the year when I found out that John McLucas was moving on from our production relationship. And so I was kind of like, got the wind taken out of my sail for a minute and then trying to but then I can't explain writing a song or wanting to write in any other way that there's like this, it's like an itch. It's like that itch on your back that you can't quite reach.
Right.
You're like,
right.
gotta itch it. It's like this, I got it. Like I have to write a song. Like I feel that way. And that's how they happen. Like I walked in here one night and just I was making a point to come in and fire up the gear and play. And I walked in there one night and just started plucking on the piano. I was like, oh, and I just kept going. I was like, oh, I started singing. Then words started coming. I was like, I think I just wrote a song.
Yeah.
That.
Yep.
That.
I love how that it's like almost like effortless. Like you can just think, because I'm not the writer, so I'm like, where do these words come from? Like, are you just like looking in the ceiling and they're like, oh, gravity, let me talk about that, and then I don't know.
What's funny?
Shout out to John Mayer's Gravity song. We
John
love that.
Mayer, we covered that many times.
Yes, but it's just one of the things where it's like, where do?
So it's interesting you say that because I went to a book signing here in Lynchburg for a New York's Best Time author. One of the reasons I went was because it's a New York bestsellers, but New York. What is it?
Yeah, New York best-selling
author. Thank you. Mm-hmm. And she lives here. So I was like, we have one here. And then she's also Canadian that moved to America. So she's Canadian originally, came down in her 20s and stayed.
Yeah.
She also published her first book at 70.
Age ain't nothing but a number, y'all.
Yo. There were so many things that I was like, I need to meet this woman. So it was just down the road at Little Dickens bookstore.
Yeah.
So I ate my dinner and rolled on out, and everybody there was 70. I was like the youngest one there. Loved it. And then it was so cool because she was talking. So they did questions at the end, and someone raised their hand and said, where do you get the inspiration for your book? Mm-hmm. And she said, it just comes. She's like, I will just be walking and it'll come into my mind, and I was like, I understand that, that, because that's how I write songs. Like I was like, do you do something magical? I'm like, I quiet my mind and I get into there's various ways I write, but it's all, for lack of a better word, channeled. I know that that assumes like some sort of mystical, and I'm not necessarily meaning that. I'm just saying I don't know how else to explain it because it just comes.
Right.
I don't know. It's like God-given. I don't know. It just comes. And it's usually these lyrics that are super powerful. They're not just words. There's so much meaning behind them. And so it's fun for me. I can't imagine. It was exciting to meet her because I was like, I could do this forever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If she's writing books at 70, I could write songs forever. So it was really cool to meet her.
Yes. So we're going to start now, since we're back into the creative spaces, we're writing music. What are some things, we're learning how to produce. Okay, so a little short end of it is, or back end of the story is, Renee and I, we're basically live performers. You come to see us perform. You can even ask us to play a special request that we don't normally play, and we will
barely know.
And we will
pull a rabbit out of a hat.
Yep, and we'll make it happen live.
And you'll have fun.
And you will enjoy it too.
Yeah.
However, on the production side,
we're like toddlers.
Yeah. It's like, okay, let me take
toddlers
a step back.
Toddlers with an iPhone. Like that's like
Yeah. So with producing, we're learning that, and you're ahead of me, but I'm learning that I do not know as much as I think I know. Where are you at with
correct
this?
me if I'm wrong though, and because this is something I learned
Uh-huh.
even getting into leaving. Talking about the live stage, like leaving the live stage for the studio,
Mm-hmm.
and just realizing that what I sang on stage doesn't translate.
Yes.
So like even with the
Yes.
drumming, like
Yeah. Because when I hear a studio track and I'm learning it, I can play it, and then as the live performer, I'm like, okay, so now I got to make this thing live. I gotta, put this drum fill in, or I'm gonna pause right here. I'm gonna, you know, I love making my own live arrangement
yeah,
in a sense. But
yeah.
now coming into this thing, it's like, nope, we got to stay in the pocket. We got to make this thing pop within the studio space, because studio less is more.
That's the secret. So even with singing, like I love to like get like I'm all emotional, like it's
Yeah.
like raw, like you're singing performing. Usually when you're performing, it's got the amplification of a theater, and like
Right.
it's this big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get in the studio, it's like your voice has to come. You got to come off that.
Yep. Right.
Like so, even with the drums, like I was telling Fred, like learning how to think about drumming in the studio as being like this cool auxiliary thing
Mm-hmm.
versus this like through the whole song,
Mm-hmm.
like because the drums carry the beat in a live show.
Yeah.
That the ones we usually did, which was more jam bandy,
Mm-hmm.
which
Mm-hmm.
jam bands
Yeah,
are just
like top 40, but like now coming through to like, excuse me, so many thoughts was coming in my head. But coming to cinematic pop,
yeah.
um, not everything needs to be a straightforward beat.
So that's the thing. Poor Fred is like, we started in this genre, went to that genre. Like I started as a singer-songwriter. I'm like, hey, Fred, now we're cinematic pop. He's like,
all right,
where are we at?
So let me. Who do I need to listen to get inspired?
Me. John McLucas and I kind of made it up.
Yeah.
Because I've always had, and I said this to Fred, like I've always had. In fact, I was thinking, I couldn't stop thinking last night about "Closer to Me." And I think the next song I'll send to Frame would actually be because that just came into my mind because that would be that song. Cinematic pop would be. I think it's ready to make an appearance.
Yeah.
It's another song I wrote forever ago, and I wrote it with more of an EDM thought in mind, but I really think it would actually be really cool in a cinematic.
Oh yeah, it would definitely fit the cinematic
with
pop.
strings and like oh man, and built like we'll see what Frame's made of. Poor Frame. We're gonna come in and we're like, can you do this? Can you do this? He's like, God. So yeah, I hear what I want, and Fred and I realized that we can hear this and we can know this, but we don't know how to, like, we stand in front of a computer and we're like, like we just can't.
Yeah, how do you take those ideas and the thoughts and the sounds?
Or it's like, I know this doesn't sound right, and we're like, bloop, beep, boop, boop, like what?
Yeah.
If you're listening, there's got to be a cheat sheet. Like, remember when you're learning math?
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, here's the little secret to division or
the multiplication.
They'd all these like devices to learn it quicker. Like, I feel like there's got to be a learning curve with these plugins, or do we really sit there and listen to every plugin until we find the ones that make sense?
Yeah.
We know that we don't know a lot.
Exactly, and that's step number one: is admitting and learning, or telling yourself. You
Ownership.
Do not know.
I don't know what I'm doing.
So now we need to start fresh.
Starting from the beginning.
Just start from the beginning.
Do something.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing about success is that you take just a step a day in the direction.
Mm-hmm.
So like I wanted to learn how to produce my vocals, because as we continue to work in different spaces, I want my voice to be consistent, and I've never produced my vocals. John McLucas always did. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I want to be able to make that consistent myself, so that no matter who I went to, I could always be like, I could actually do my own vocals. Mm-hmm. So I know that they sound right, like consistent, right? Yeah. Like, because we've heard my vocals done like 6 ways in the last week.
Yeah, right.
Like, some we like, some we don't, because it has to fit with the cinematic pop vibe. It can't be this like hugely reverby thing, because that's more techno, like
Yeah.
but it can't be raw because then it sits weirdly. Like it's this
Mm-hmm.
thing, and then learning that your drums, like
Mm-hmm.
the kit is great for live, but it doesn't work for what's going to get radio play,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
necessarily.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, yeah, and again, I don't want to tell too many of my secrets, but I have some cool ideas of how to make those drums pop and the cinematic pop for my acoustic set.
For the live.
Yeah,
But we ain't there yet. No, that's the thing. We're building out so many things.
Yeah, after this podcast, I'm going to show you, run my ideas by you.
Find it. All right.
Yeah.
We'll share those later.
Yeah,
Maybe if you're lucky. Maybe if you're lucky, we'll share those later.
Yeah. They'll see it on the live stream when I get myself together.
That's right. Here's how I do the cinematic pop. Rose.
So going back to learning, the best thing for me is watching like tutorials, like YouTube videos or anything like that. What have been some of your outlets that
I was actually looking, it's so funny because I was looking at Berkeley. I was like, I think I went to school for the wrong thing. I have all these degrees and things I'm not doing.
Right.
I was like, I should have gone to Berkeley.
Right.
Got a degree in production, which would have made me happy.
Yep.
And I'm still like, do I go do that now? Like, and then we were just talking before the podcast. It's like, but spend all that big money for the college degree for why?
Right.
Because you've got Udemy, you've got YouTube University.
University.
You've just got endless, like, you can almost kind of create your own course. The difference is you don't come out with that degree, but where we're headed, it's not a degree situation.
Yeah,
I just remember, like, Berkeley keeps sending me stuff for some reason. I'm like, I went to school for the wrong thing. I should have learned to produce, but I still will. So yeah, like right now I've got a couple of classes sitting in my Udemy.com that I want to go through. Like one is specifically about cinematic pop. One of them is on Logic. Just one of them is on like doing a Chainsmoker style song in Logic. So like they'll even take some of these classes you can take. They'll take a song and teach you how to make something sonically like that.
Right.
Where it's like learning how to develop your sonic palette, learning how to, learning the different plugins and things that they're using because they share that with you, like some of them along the way. So I'm really leveraging Udemy. And then masterclass is where Armin van Buuren did a class in masterclass, and that's actually the track that I've got Matthew working on. By the way, I sent you the wrong MP3. That's the track that I've got Matthew working on. Was I made it from masterclass watching Armin van Buuren. So Armin basically took you through Sunny Days, which is this really great crossover track from like techno to pop. And he took Sunny Days and he's like, here's how I wrote it. And he broke down, like, I sat down and I came up with a melody line first. And he's like, and he found the right, and then sonic sound. And then he's like, and here's how I created that kick. And he showed you how he layered the kick but see now there's no reason to even do that because there's literally a plugin now. Like we've advanced so far. Like that masterclass was like 4 years ago. We've advanced so far that's like, you want Armin's kick? Here it is. Like
right. Yeah.
Instead of being like, okay, so he layered. I had like the kick layered with a hi-hat layered with, so when it hit, it had this like sound, right? Ain't gotta do all that anymore.
Yeah. And now, so you work with McLucas. Now we're working with Frame. So now you're in a situation where you're working with multiple producers.
Yeah, and it was never a space I wanted to. Fred was always like, one day, Renee, you're gonna be working with all kinds of producers. I'm like, no, because I'm such a like monogamous person. Like in every relationships of all kinds. Yeah. I'm like, John's my person. Like McLucas and I were doing this together, and we really had like 3 years of a relationship where it was like a well-oiled machine. Like I didn't like. I would literally send it to him. It's like he could telepathically read my mind. Yeah. So coming from that and then coming into like a brand new producer who doesn't know how to read my mind yet, and like getting comfortable with that and learning how to, I know it's a growth step and I know it's good. Oh yeah. But yeah, like, and then also starting to dip our toes into other spaces. So like cinematic pop, I love it. I love mainstream. I've always loved mainstream. They made fun of me in college because I loved mainstream. They're like, it was cool to like all the underground stuff, and I was digging mainstream. I didn't dislike the underground, but like it was not cool in college to like the top 40 stuff
Uh-huh.
in my circle of friends.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I just always liked it. And it's the thing that gets the most play. It's called popular music for a reason.
Yep.
Pop is short for popular, meaning most people listen to it. So I really wanted to stay in that space because I liked it, because it was very marketable. But I still love EDM, and we've found out we have a like Tide vibe and lo-fi, like hip hop EDM cross lo-fi.
Right.
And so wanting to learn to produce is to kind of dip our toes into that space. And you know, Matthew Billings is getting, you know, I'm throwing some EDM stuff his way. So it's been cool actually now, because with more than one producer, you can swing into different spaces.
Yeah.
Where if you're with just one, like, you know, John and my forte was cinematic pop.
Yep. And, you know, on, you know, your clientele, you know, your audience, you know, so, you know, the people who may follow McLucas is going to like you because, you know, of course, you know, you have the sound that sounds like McLucas, but then the people that you're working with, another producer, then their following is going to start picking you up
because they're digging that vibe.
Yeah, you know, and then, you know, when time allows, and you know, we begin doing our production and we're getting our own audience. Then they're gonna go back and listen to your first album and your second. It's like
they're like, what?
Yeah.
How did she get here? What?
Yep.
I think they already do that with my first EP, because on that first EP is cinematic pop rock, cinematic pop Latin,
Yep.
and then a cinematic pop love song, like ballad.
Right.
So I like hit like
four different genres
in one EP.
Yeah.
What you want? What you need?
Exactly.
We got it.
Exactly. You know, so and that's the beauty of music. That's why I always tell people, music brings people together.
Yeah.
And then when you start working with different producers, you know, you like say you understanding what certain producers like and what they don't like, or how they need to work with you. Again, it's just going to make everything. 2 years from now, you're going to be like, how did we get here? You know, you're going to laugh at this thing. You're going to be like, what?
I feel that about the last 2 years of songs we wrote.
Yeah.
There's a whole Christmas album. I'm like, when did I write that?
Yeah, right.
When did I even sing that? Because most of that stuff with John was done through a pandemic when I was pulling like 10 houses a month. So I don't know. It might be why I have a twitch in my eye. My body's like, you need a break. I'm like, there's so much to do. No, we'll look back and be like, remember we talked about producing? Right. Check out this album.
Yeah. So
our little lo-fi EP.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And stay tuned, because you never know what's going to come up.
Never.
You know, we'll try to keep this.
There's so many things happening.
Yeah. You got to keep it fresh. You got to keep it evolving and stuff. So this is going to be interesting, y'all.
It'll be exciting.
Yep.
We'll see you next week for something new.
Yeah. Thank you for joining. Bye-bye.